GenZ-Gab, and I cannot believe it's been a whole year of me doing this. And before anyone says, yes, technically the official episode dropped May 1st, 2nd, whatever, of last year. But when you think about it, I put out the trailer April 22nd, so it is a full year of me talking into the mic and you guys listening. So thank you. Thank you very much. And Monday Mood is my cat that's just hanging out over here. Maybe you can see her, maybe you can't. She's probably trying to escape the room right now because I've been making a lot of noise, and we all know how great that is. As you can see, though, there has been a lot of ups and downs, technical difficulties. I will be playing back for you in a strange way, kind of like a clip show of how bad my audio started to where it is now. So, yeah, we will not be re-listening to everything or re-watching everything, but we will be getting down to business with, the highlights or whatever you want to call it. And I think that is great. I also want to talk about how Mother's Day is coming up, and if you have not given a gift for mom yet, that's okay. You still got time. I'm pretty sure May 14th, so we can do this. If you're a last minute shopper, it's okay. I have currently been trying to figure out my next step from here, and when you're someone who's also not on the most expensive end, it is okay to still just buy a coffee card. Here's what I'm gonna just say. Not gonna say because mom matters, okay? Mom matters so much, especially to me. She's my best friend. I was just gonna say mom, my mom is a very simplistic person. So I'm gonna take a page for, anyone who's kind of like, who's got a mom like Renee. So we are gonna do for here 5 things quickly, and then, get into some of the highlight reels of what has happened, and just kind of, what I've done and grown as a person. I know I kind of touched on it last week, but I think that, it's okay to put it out there, and some of the goals that I'll have for this next year coming up, because again, not a lot of people make it for 50 episodes or even a year. And even though I have not gotten a review yet or anything, we can still do whatever. There's a lot of time for more. So so let's start and get into the 5 things that I think that people could look at to get for their mom for Mother's Day if you're on a budget. Gift cards. Okay, look, I know that people can say, oh my god, not another gift card. But here's the thing. Coffee. Coffee is life. And for anyone who has a mom or a working mom like I do, you know exactly what's going on and what they need. So they're probably making a trip to Starbucks, Dunkin', Caribou, whatever you guys have. So I think that that's good. 10 to 30 bucks is enough, and I know people will say that still doesn't seem that loving, but that's okay. There are other times of the year, whether it be birthday, whether it be Christmas, holiday, whatever. So it does kind of come up, and I know I struggle with that too. Also, books, or, going back to that gift card. I know, gift card, Sarah. Why are you mentioning? Because you can get a gift card for even like a place like Barnes & Noble. So, but yes, books are amazing. Or, you could make her favorite meal, or get a takeout, I don't know, that she really likes. So there are 3 options. You can go on Amazon and order her something like from their wide variety, etc. You can get, I don't know if anybody is a dual citizen, but I've got my mom a lot of dual citizen stuff along the way. She and I are both citizens of Luxembourg now, so we're working through that. So t-shirts can run cheap, so something like that, or even a neon sign. I know not everyone might like that, but hey, a neon sign can cost anywhere between like 10 and $60. I'm not saying one way or another, but that would be a unique and nice gift. So I think I got through my 5 things right there, right then. So there you go. There are some very interesting different types of things, or you can always do like sewing, knitting, I don't know. There are a wide, again, variety of things you can do for mom. So let's get into kind of just what my plans are for this year after we watched all those clips. And god dang those audios. Yeah. So we are gonna do that where I came from, where I started. We're gonna watch all those clips coming up. But yeah, I am proud of myself that I continuously do this. This is hard work, and I want to say again, it is not for the faint of heart. So I give you guys all out there who are doing this, especially by yourself, a big round of applause. And this is not me being sarcastic. If it feels that way, I completely understand. But I've been enjoying this year. Also, just finally being able to be confident when I talk about my dyslexia, my ADHD, my all my crazy things, and just working towards something. I got my resume together for my Actors Access today. It was really good. So continuing with that work. But what are my goals for 2023 2024 podcast edition of Gen Z Gab? Okay, so obviously I'd love to hear more of a review, what people think, what they like, dislike. I'm gonna be trying to do Q&As more often. I want to grow a community more. So those are some of my goals, as well as weekly gabs where I talk to you on Instagram Live. I'm going to try to do that. So those are some of my goals. You tell me how you feel about those. There is going to be a Patreon, like I said, every week, but maybe I'll go on now and do some Q&As so that we can really connect. So there's that. And you know what? I will never stop talking about Grey's Anatomy, especially with this week's episode. Gosh, is it really, is it Gen Z Gab if I don't fucking talk about it? No. And plus, it's so interesting how, it's like this revival inside of a actual show that kept going. And you know what? As the world turns and all those weird soap operas are still going, do I think that it still should not be a soap opera? Yeah. Or night soap opera, you name it. Yeah. But we will work on that, because I think that it's just kind of interesting to see how long it runs, and it's running like The Simpsons, okay? Like, nobody thought The Simpsons would be on its like 35th season, and it's coming around again. But do I truly think that, again, Griffith and Adam should wind up together? No. Do I see again the whole thing of J-April? Yes. But are you glad, spoiler alert, that, he at least said he couldn't do it, even if he has feeling, whatever, or just feels uncomfortable about the whole situation? Yes. And here's why. He needs to learn from his Aunt Mare, okay? There is so much stuff going on. I also like the friendships developing. Mika needs to get some help with the burnout. I get it. Blah, blah, blah. I am so glad that Helm stood up for her. Can Helm get out of that bar just because? Do we know what's going to happen? No. Do I feel like Luna's new storyline is amazing? Yes. Are you about Joe Link? Not really. Are you about a lot of these recycled storylines? Again, not really. But do you like hearing about what could potentially happen for our next season of Grey's Anatomy? Yes, because we have to end it on that sweet special spot of 20 seasons. If it's at least gonna do that, maybe it'll go longer. I don't know. Are you concerned about what's the stakes? Yep. And yeah, so there's so much going on. But can I just say how excited I am? Station 19 finally answered my question of whether or not they are getting a season 7, and they just got a season 7. Why did you make me wait so long? Why? And also that creepy stalker storyline last night on Grey's, that made my heart like go, By the way, the parallels, yes, you will be able to see the parallels soon. There are so many parallels in that episode. But yeah, enough about me here on that little, long tangent. Can I just say, though, again, one of the things, I love all the cast, but Adeline Kane's TikToks have always been very, very relatable to me because of how Irish I am as well. Like 30+%. And she always talks about the Irish exit. And you know what? I can't wait to do a lot of those this summer. Yeah, great. Because we know that summer and spring are coming up. So, we'll be livelier, friendlier. There'll be more things to talk about. We are getting out of that winter slump. So, and into that summertime sunshine, not sadness. We are not going to have that summertime sadness. Summertime sadness comes more when the winter blues begin, or the fall. A fatale, Maybe not. Maybe not the best way to put it. Also, I'm super excited for Only Murders in the Building season 3. Also, quick before we, divulge into the whole series of Sarah, let's see how far you've come. Let's see how far my audio testing has come, or whatever. So we are gonna be talking about the Webby Awards. Okay, if you have not voted yet, do so. Go to Jesse Williams. Yes, another Grey's Anatomy person, but he does way more, and he's also been a history teacher. Like I said, some of them had real jobs before they acted. And acting is a real job. I just say that because sometimes I feel like when you're talking about it with your family, blah, 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 everything goes and like shit hits the fan. So we gotta do this. But it is what it is, and we are working on it. So that being said, Jesse Williams has a Webby Award with a bunch of other creators, and why it's important to hold people accountable, and with all the issues going on, exactly. So go and look at Jesse Williams' post. I think he posted it Wednesday-ish, Tuesday, and just go and vote for them on the Webby Awards. There's so many others, obviously, to do too, but that one's very important, and we need to get traction. Well, I bet it already has a lot of traction, but you know. So yeah, let's get into the bloopers or audio clips that maybe shouldn't have aired. Basically, my editing skills were lacking. What's up? This is Sarah G, and I am bringing you a whole new podcast called GenZ-Gab. I am your host, and I will be talking about everything and anything from being a revolving nester, as my family would say, to pop culture. And unlike most podcasts right now happening, I will not be giving you unsolicited advice. Trust me, if you are like me, you are getting enough of that already. Another reason I'm doing this podcast is because I heard it might be good or therapeutic for me. Plus, I've always dreamed of having a podcast blog and blogs, whatever you may have. I know it's cliche, especially this day and age. If you grew up in the mid-2000s, you probably remember iCarly, Fred, all those kind of scenes. And now that I've introduced a little bit about myself, aside from being a 20-something-year-old who has no idea what she's doing with her life, I cannot wait for you guys to hear the full new episode premiering May 2nd. Let's gab soon. And can you answer this one question I've been dying to hear about Snoop? Because he was dancing like your typical dad. Is he one of those, like, secretly in disguise dads that seem cool, but at the end of the day, he's just like the rest of ours? Because when I saw him in the show and in the clips he's like doing like this weird like I have no moves, and we all think of him as this really cool rapper and forget that he has 4 kids of his own.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't get a chance to meet with him or talk with him, unfortunately, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
But I did get to meet Kelly Clarkson, and she was so down to earth and
Yeah.
so normal and nice and kind, and it was a great time chatting with her.
I also forgot my pop mic thing cover condenser, but you know what? I'm all plugged in. Everything works. I'm like a good welker away from the microphone. This is what my teacher likes to talk about when I do voiceover. So as long as I'm not just screaming directly into the mic, and as long as I got the condenser stuff on, I think we'll be good. Double checking that everything's in order. But yeah, I'm just going to talk for the next 20 or so minutes about, my pet peeves and everything that's going on in my life. Maybe you'll relate to it, maybe you won't. Who knows? And yes, I get it that there's some echo. I'm still working through a lot of things right now. So, yeah. All right. So, as many people try to understand, is that, your 20-something-year-old, you thought your life would be so much different than it actually is. And I'm here to tell you that regardless of quarantine or anything, I think that a lot of people would be in the same boat. Because if you're like me with ADHD, and yes, I keep reminding ADHD because there are certain types, there's certain ranges, so on and so forth. But so there we are, just learning about everything as we get older. And I've actually found, like, again, Carly Shay is pretty relatable in the senses of that a little bit different. Her whole start, she's kind of kicked it off, and then now she's going back and reimagining, redefining. But what I mean by the fact that I can handle, like, it's better now that they can actually fully swear than like fake the words. Because are you watching those TV shows from when you're young and you like have those inappropriate or whatever jokes go over your head or different words for different things? Like chiz and all that stuff. I'm thinking, is it better just to say like you shit or peed? Or you did number 1 or 2? Like, it could have been that, like, they came up with new words, and then I actually remember saying that, and it's, like, hysterical, but, like, the fact of the matter is, I don't understand, like, I do understand. You don't sound like a lady if you do that. Okay, skunk bag was one of the words that they used early on in iCarly. So, what's up, everyone? This is Sarah G, and it is GenZ-Gab. Let's get into it. It is seven episodes, so we're going forward with it. Today, Monday Mood is the biggest one, but we are going to be talking about Scene Double. Scene Double is a band that's got some 70s vibes in the sense of like kind of folksy, but not like 70s rock. But they opened for Brooke Alex, yes, in the sense of like kind of folksy, but not, yes, I mention her a majority of times in this podcast. But they're amazing, and I know I should get to see you soon someday. Yeah, so I really miss you. I appreciate you. Thank you for always supporting me. Dad, same thing goes for you. Thank you for the humor and the obsession with Ted Lasso I would not have without you. As well as, furthermore, finally, my favorite other person, Papa. Thank you so much for just being you, always believing in me and being so sweet to me. And thank you, I know this is kind of funny, but for being Irish and giving me the tanning ability, because nobody believes that Irish people can tan and we get dark. So thank you for that. And anyone that thinks that that's a weird comment, trust me, I'm thankful for the good skin, the good features. My dad always goes to me, you should thank me for your good looks. I think I should thank the man who gave him the good looks. So there we go. So aside from that, I'm going to actually be talking about stuff that I don't usually talk about because we are here, we are ready, and I worked this weekend, so I was really, really happy. I recorded something on Thursday. I was not so great with the technical and whatever that went along with it. I felt like I was rambling. Another behind the scenes that will be mentioned on the Patreon account, just kind of why I state that, a lot of these clips will be just used more in behind the scenes settings because I figured out how to do that. And I've just decided it makes more sense. So, as I'm recording on two different things right now, my laptop and my phone, I'm hoping to see if I have different angles. So, yeah, here's the little production type sidebar for the Patreon users. This is my little home studio. As you can see, I'm kind of balancing things all together in my room because even though the room has a slight echo, it's easier to understand or comprehend. I don't know. But the point is that each day I'm getting better and better with my audio, regardless of what people say or think. And so we are here. It's balanced. It's beautiful. We'll get through it. And yes, I might get some feedback here but it is GenZ-Gab where I talk about raw, unedited moments of my life, your life, who knows. If it can help just one person, that's great. But I'm just here doing me. But anyway, I worked at my usual cookie stand that I work for every summer for the great get-together that is state fairs. If anyone's listening to me, this is today post-injury where I'm feeling great. People will go, what do you mean injury? Well, see, the thing is, now this is me, the kid who, if you're listening to this, just know I was just more mad because it hurt like hell. And I really wanted to keep everything in as everyone heard it. I really did not want to swear at you. It fucking hurt, and I am glad I kept everything in because the last thing I articulate this because I've been really angry this week and I'm gonna have a lot of opinions. And you know what? Shut the hell up. If you don't want to listen to this, turn it off because it's going to be controversial. But you know what? This is an issue near and dear to my heart. And after years and years and years of brainwashing that a lot of people will agree with or a lot of misunderstanding because they went to fucking private school. I'm not saying that the public school system is great. And people, you know what? I'm just not going to talk about school. That's a different day. But we are getting into it because I am so fucking tired of this shit. And I'm nervous about doing this podcast today, doing this talk about what it is, but it needs to be said, and it needs for we don't need to know every little thing. Gossip is, yes, what runs our country in some ways, but this is like so to the point where it's worse than just your high school finding out. So that's kind of my takeaway from my whole week that I've been feeling, as well as just kind of not understanding anymore how much of our society and mass consumerism has taken over, as well as what certain people believe in more than don't, and that I think that just the entitlement of our whole society needs to change. Let's gab soon. Leave your comments, likes, and subscriptions down below. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll catch you next time. This has been an episode of GenZ-Gab. All those things, which I know is really random that I'm talking about, but that's kind of my takeaway from it all, is that, as well as the fact that just kind of funny how people can say they've worked hard and long, but it's good to see that these people are still constantly working. Yes, we remember them from certain iconic roles, but they know more than that. And I think that just shows that, like, even if you're kind of like struggling in between years, but you're always going back and forth and doing what you love. So there's that. And I kind of wanted to touch on that because that's like conversations I had within my family when they started to ask me, what do you want to do with your life? Like, okay, bold question because I don't really know. And I know people are just curious, but it's kind of like I'm doing a lot of freelancing, self-employed stuff. And it's great until it's just kind of like you're doing what you got to do and you're trying to make money, march on survival. And I think that gets a little tricky when you really think about it because it's like, okay, you guys don't get it because of the other generation. But the whole Gen Z millennial thing that I'm going to touch on a lot today is because, again, I'm Gen Z. Even though I'm in the beginning, I'm Gen Z. And talking to my millennial cousins and family member / then like the Gen X and then Boomer, silent generation, whatever. I don't really know where some of my family members line up, honestly. It's just so funny because, again, I had an incident with like my oldest cousin, not incident, but he was going about, him and his wife were talking about how many different songs I could name by various bands, and I could name 3, like, at least that, that got them the solid points. And I actually love Good Charlotte. I don't know why I was blanking on the beach when we were trying to figure out things, because I actually hadn't been drinking. Like, I only had one drink. Like, I really didn't drink as much as usual, maybe because of other things, but it's so funny. And what I'm trying to say is that I know Lifestyle of a Rich Famous, the anthem, and I Don't Want to Be in Love, and there's so many more, but those are ones. And yeah, he's like, name more than 3. Well, again, I did Fall Out Boy pretty well. You realize how much of their stuff, like now there's secrets coming out that you're like, okay, I'm glad I wasn't actually, as attached.
I will say, and that this is something where a big piece of it is, as we have this immense need to succeed and hit all these milestones in our 20s, a lot of people themselves to make these choices, to make these commitments, and to do these things in their 20s that they actually really shouldn't be.
Yep.
They're so intent on, I have to do this, I have to succeed. And then you end up finding out in their 30s, like, actually miserable. Made those choices, like they may have gotten into a marriage too soon. Took the job that they really didn't want to do, but they felt like, but this is going to put me in the right space to do all this other shit that I want to do, but it's not actually what I want to do, but I have to do this. Or they are going to sign away to maybe an agent or a manager who is going to take full advantage of that. There's just so much shit, and I do think as a society is to let go of those expectations and to allow, in the same way we kind of like are like, let kids be kids.
Yeah.
Let 20-year-olds be 20-year-olds.
Okay. I can't, there's just something about the whole, like, which I know is the goal, but the whole thing about the elevator stuff, it made me neurotic about elevators for the longest time. Now, again, I've talked about having OCD in the past, and it was way worse as a kid. I've slowly kind of worked my way and coped with it a lot better. But it is funny when I actually mention some of that stuff to my parents. And just so you know, yeah, I've had an intake, I've had all this stuff. Again, it's that it is funny. I know that there's a lot of overlaps with other neurodivergences, but I just want to make it clear when people sometimes say, you might have this, you might have that. There's so many stuff. And I wanted to also acknowledge for anyone out there that is self-diagnosing themselves, you are valid. I see you. I accept you. I just wanted to say that slowly when you start to talk about a lot of these, similar and different things, it's suddenly like, do we all have all of this stuff? I just wanted to acknowledge that for a second because somebody said, they used to, and they have something else, and etc. And then that's where my brain starts spiraling. But no, anyway, going back to the whole thing with Tower of Terror, the problem is that, with OCD, a lot of times it has to do with cleanliness, which is true, or something being contaminated, or just an irrational anxious fear, which again was why for a while they also thought, which I think I do have generalized anxiety. Again, all this stuff goes kind of hand in hand, but it's hard to say kind of what exactly. And I've been doing more research anyway with the whole dyslexia and ADHD stuff with how my brain works and how I'm just probably more prone to the whole OCD, anxiety, depressional things like a lot of people, but I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. We'll save that for later. But the whole thing was that, everyone loves being scared and such, but the problem when you have things like ADHD and like autism, etc. Sometimes we take things a little too literally. And with ADHD, it's like your fight or flight sometimes happens and activates, and then the anxiety, or it was the OCD. I can't really figure out which one it was. Maybe it was both of them. But the problem was it just made it too hard for me to be on that specific ride. I just get too much in my head about it because it's like, and I know, like, again, I've been in enough, therapy to do the tools and stuff. And I know, like, again, my family's been very good at, like, having me take a step back, figuring out why. But it's just kind of frustrating because, like, I know a lot of people love this ride. I know that, Tower of Terror was almost taken down and that, it became a big deal. So then it stopped the whole destruction stuff. So that being said, it's just one of those, it made me really terrible. We just text exchange between her and her grandpa. Her grandpa, unfortunately, passed away on Friday. And if you've been following her, you understand the whole deal. But anyway, just please keep her and her family in your thoughts. I really enjoyed it, especially because, again, it was another thing that helped me get through my own grandpa's death. And yeah, so I just thought to mention that in the beginning. And I think about a lot of people just, connecting through the internet, and not everything is like mystical, magical connection, besties. But I do think that, you do start to connect through people a little bit, even if they're just acquaintances. And I do think that even for a stranger, just a message, I'm thinking of you, helps out a lot. And I wanted to get into, as I start this, is that speaking of grandpas, I have my grandpa still around that I text, and he makes me laugh so much because the thing is that he is like the sweetest man alive aside from this. But when he texts me, he now says, "Do you know that you can speak into the phone?" Like, things that him and my other grandpa used to get excited about with technology is just so pure. And I wanted to mention that because it can put a smile on my face easily. And I know that it was a little bit sad what I just started out with. So I wanted to kind of consider, like, thinking of like the small things. It's the small things that make a lot of these people happy. And you think about the world, how different of a world they grew up in compared to now. And I think about even my complaints, which are valid. Like, again, your emotions and complaints are valid, but I just think about the stories that he slowly started to tell me about growing up, and I think to myself, okay, yeah, you grew up in a different time, you were doing a different thing, and now you're just sharing it all, this wisdom with me. But, you go from where he lives in the moment and says, why can't you just live in the moment? And I think to myself, because, well, Grandpa, Papa, you grew up in the generation before boomers. So I don't really know, but I'm just like, again, I'm 5 generations younger plus than you. I'm almost 6, so I can't tell you, but there was a lot of decades that happened, and it's still evolving, and I probably will. What I've realized is that there is going to probably be, a moment where I wind up like that later in life, and you start to wonder when that is, because I constantly am saying how old I feel, but then I start to see, like, what I've been talking about with some of my guest hosts, etc. You see that that's not all it is, and you're still young. I also know that the Wizards of Waverly Place podcast premieres today, and that was my childhood, in case anyone's listening from that. I also know that if there's between rewatching with the cast of Wizards, that and listening to this, I understand. I mean, I still hope that you'd listen to my podcast, but I completely see, everything is not what it seems, and let's face it, I'm going to be tuning into that as well, so that'll be cool. Again, I really love Jennifer Stone, how she's, like, managed to combat her autoimmune disease, something that I can understand. and she went to school to be a nurse now, and she's still acting like she's got it. I mean, she doesn't have it all figured out, but she's got a lot going for her. And I mention a lot of critiques about some people on here, and again, I'm sorry, but again, this is how I see it as an outside perspective person. But again, I do admire the Vulnerable podcast for talking about these kind of topics. And again, Chrissy Carlson Romano and Allison Stoner are doing a great job at spreading that awareness. Allie and AJ also talked about it recently on a podcast, Child Stardom. And I think that we really do need to listen to them, like Mom Uncharted said, about what childhood fame does to you. Now, again, some of them did probably at first want to follow the trends of like making an Instagram for their kid, but then privatizing them, which is so great. I also noticed Michael Yo did the same thing for his kid. Now, I didn't want to go and follow it, but I just sometimes look to see like which accounts are private versus public, because I'm trying to see which ones are protected, because we need to consider that when you look at all these new influencer kids, Gen Alpha, Honey Badger kids. And I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on this, but again, because I follow so many of those accounts that talk about child exploitation and influencer culture for younger family vlog type people, I just consider taking that all in and reassuring, and I always question myself kind of how much, because there's other accounts that I follow, whether it be bilingualism or something like that, where I'm trying to make sure, as how much is too much are they showing of their kid, and it's not at all work out, but I don't know, and I'm very freaked out right now, because the last thing I need is more things to spend money on that I don't already have, that I've already spent money on for other things, and just trying to get by, as you can see, and as I've talked about with multiple people, and it's just, again, so frustrating. It's not like saying it's tough to be me and all that stuff, or poor me. It's just the reality of trying to do everything. And when people talk about self-made, this is what self-made looks like. And it sucks a lot of the time, but you just gotta keep moving forward. Like Disney said, and I know Disney has its own issues, but if we keep moving forward, then the payoff may eventually happen. Obviously, not as quick as we would want it. And yes, but that's kind of where I'm at. I also, though, have found myself multiple moments this week with trying to figure out what's going on with my computer. That's why the YouTube vlog version of my episode 37 has not come out yet, because it's just been a roller coaster, and I don't know what my next step is. So we just keep everything that I do here, aside from a list of things that I do for planning for a podcast. Pretty much everything in my life is improvised now. So yeah, we're good there. Also, I need to clean, I need to do all this stuff, and I just don't have the executive function for that. Speaking of which, my dad and I had an interesting conversation, and I very rarely want to talk about my parents, but see, I complained about my mom with the list, but here it is, Dad, even though you probably don't want me to say this, but he and I were talking about ADHD and family stuff earlier today. And you know what? I actually, though, know. I'm going to say this. Yes, people are going to go on and on and on and on and on about how Miley should have played Daisy Jones. And yes, I kind of see that. I see that in a variety of ways, but maybe she didn't apply, etc. And, who knows who really rewrites the songs. And yes, I should do more research, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't mean anything really, because it's between the king and a queen of music. And the queen, I should just say, the queen, which is Dolly. But the point is that you get two sets of Nepo babies, plus Camila is played by Camila Marrone, who's also Al Pacino, and she has her own, Argentina family acting, all that stuff, modeling, and she's very good, don't get me wrong, but she's Al Pacino's stepdaughter. Like, are we not gonna talk about who else is? And I'm not saying that they're not good. Again, other people who have worked hard, but I'm just pointing out all these people, like, trying to go hate. It's like, do you not know? And by the way, the most recent version of The Climb just healed my inner child that Miley did. So, yeah, that was kind of just more of my 2 cents on the thing, because I was just getting so mad earlier when I was hearing about it, and I kind of go, okay, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pit this against each other when you have three very talented people. And yes, Sarah, I know I complain. Yes, I'm talking about myself in the third person, but there's a difference between, yes, you get more connection and whatever, but when you have really the raw talent like these guys do and are decent and, like, you know, in a lot of other ways, it's like, okay, yeah, you can't get too mad. Also, I want to talk about quickly before we wrap up the whole resurgence of Hunger Games and, like, where people are breaking down a lot of things, especially in Women's History Month, and I think it's amazing. And please, drum roll, please. Jack Whitehall. Why? Because he drove, not flew, he drove instead of a 45-minute plane ride to see his willing and adoring fans, for his Jack Arse or Jackass tour. And yes, this is for anybody watching the video version or the vidcast. Yes, I'm showing my VIP right here, right now. So it's so cool. It was so fun. He's so nice. I mean, obviously I only got like 5 minutes with him, but there were 40 other people. We all got the same-ish experience, and he was phenomenal. He was super great. He was super hilarious. Even my mom, who never really heard of him, thought it was hilarious. It is hilarious, though, as people will, and I know I'm using a lot of hilarity, and it's ironic because his mom is named Hillary, but he's so nice, and I love it when I meet a person that I look up to / that I, adore from afar, be an actual nice person, because we've all been burned by influencers. We've all been burned by other content creators. Again, it's not just LA, and you've heard him talk about it too in his own stand-up material. So yeah, that's where we all are at. Again, Withering Whitehalls, if you are listening to this, you raised a wonderful person. And I know I'm laughing at this because I can just see Michael Whitehall rolling his eyes. And yes, I know I'm that much of a fan. I love Travels with My Father. I will give him a nod because I was one of the few people that did was hoping that, you were behind the curtain at our show. And yeah. But Jack did phenomenal. He was hilarious. He really played up with the bits with us, and it was just great. I love his cavadoo that he has a name, Coco. And Coco. What is up, everyone? This is Sarah G, and it is GenZ-Gab. Let's get into it. So, I have had a very interesting week. I got to see Brooke, who we had on the podcast earlier last year almost. Yeah, it's been a year. So if you're curious about who Brooke is or haven't really listened to it, which is fine, go and check out on GenZ-Gab the Brooke Alex episode 2. It is amazing how much production factor changes over time. I'm just going to say that quickly about myself included, because I have been working tooth and nail to really figure out what to do. It has been a learning curve, and I am glad for anyone who's been with me. I can take bad feedback, whatever. I just meant that it was really funny because I really don't get much, and I realize I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to this and giving myself criticism, and yeah, I don't know much more than that. The problem is that I'm also annoyed right now with the possible TikTok takeover, and we all know how fun that's going to be for a variety of things. Nobody ever lets Chew finish. Like, oh my fucking god, let the man finish. You people in Congress need to really consider what you're asking, because What you're asking isn't even anything. It's a motherfucking train wreck, what you are asking. It's a little bit just not good, man. I don't know what else to say. It just felt really wrong and all. Like, what did I watch yesterday? Really? What did... De diferentes palabras usar en la lengua y país. So, yeah, that was just... Enjoy me making fun of myself there, because I was not making fun of myself, but you guys can make fun of me. I totally, especially if there are any actual, like, real, like, heritage speakers out there, please make fun of me. I'm okay with that. I know that sounds weird, but just, yeah, go for it. I just know that I put an extra R on the palabras, but that was because I learned from Rico, from Moises Arias, on, Disney Channel. Yep, I feel like how a lot of Gen Zers, elder Gen Zers, learned how to roll their R's, like I've mentioned in the past. So it's just been really great. I do want to talk one more time quickly about, accounts, Instagram accounts, like I was talking about before. But the funniest part about Instagram accounts are that I think I should be talking about pet accounts that I love, like the dodo, etc. But the funniest part is that I also follow celebs.
I think to make the perfect ideal change in the industry, in casting, it starts well before casting. It's hiring writers in the writing room to tell the appropriate story from the actual perspective, not someone who's just well studied in autism.
Right.
That's the same. Well, we need to hire Black writers and Black showrunners.
Right, like Blackish was a phenomenal show for that reason.
And whatever it is, so it starts there, and then everybody on that project, including the network or the studio or the whoever, we all need to be on the same page that it's going to be a harder search maybe to find this person to portray whatever the character is, and we don't want to fake it. We want to be true and genuine and respectful. And how long does that take? I think, unfortunately, that kind of change at all of those levels,
right,
it'll take a while longer, but I think we are making strides. If you even look at the show Pose, the Ryan Murphy show, he hired actual transgender writers, people, actors, whatever, to crew. There was such a high percentage of transgender people on that set.
And I'm so proud that I've made it through this year. So grateful for anyone who listens, who's been here on a journey since day one and has put up with my chaotic brain and where I talk about everything under the sun. But yes, Abbott Elementary had the incredible actress Raja P. Henson, who played her mom, who played Janine's mom, and honestly, the friendship between Barbara, work mom, and Janine, it just made my heart so warm, and how much she was willing to go to bat for Janine with the situations with her mom. You start to learn a lot more, and I cannot get over how wholesome and how hilarious everyone is. So great with each other. Everyone gels. The comedic timing is just all there. And I would love to see this go on for another 10 years. I don't think it will, but hopefully it gets to at least 6 or 7 seasons. And it's just, I just love it so much. I think it's great because it's also based off of a real show, situation, school. And again, the reason that I still talk and gush so much about this is that, you start to realize why Janine's a little bit needier than she seemed before, or why she has this kind of, gear towards Barbara, and how she needs to, feel the stability that she never had. And that's why she's so in touch with her students. And I know she based the character off of, the actual teacher there, but also partially because of her mom being a teacher. And it's just so great to watch and see, how much these characters can evolve when it's so many, but you see, in a 30-minute span. But it's just it's just so well done, and I wanted to commend that show for everything. So yeah, this has been GenZ-Gab. Thank you for listening, and thank you. What a wild year it's been. I cannot believe we've made it this far, and by we, yes, I'm talking about me. I cannot, but the whole world, whatever. Thank you so much for being a part of this, for anyone that listens. And yes, we're doing a tick tick boom 30-90 feeling right now. So yeah, anyway, it's been one hell of a year. It is happy birthday. Yes, I should have probably brought a birthday candle to blow out, but you know what? I'm gluten-free, so I can't really do that. Anyway, this has been the 50th episode of Gen Z Gab, and we will see you soon.